Hallo und willkommen auf meinem Kanal zu New World heute. Ja, ich habe euch heute mal alle Trailer zusammengeschnitten, also alle in ein Video gepackt und habe dazu meinen Senf gegeben, also meine eigene Meinung, auf meine ganz eigene Art und Weise natürlich. Ich wünsche euch erstmal viel Spaß. Es ist die sagenhafte Insel der Ewigkeit. Ein Ort unvorstellbarer Schönheit und eines Bösen, das sich ausbreitet, wo ein ständiger Kampf herrscht zwischen Leben und Tod. Seit Jahrhunderten kommen sie hierher auf der Suche nach Macht. Und finden nur Verderben. Und nun kommst du auf diese Insel, angelockt von der Aussicht auf Macht und Unsterblichkeit. Die Dunkelheit wird dich verschlingen.
New World's an open-world MMO set in an alternate version of the 17th century. It takes place on an island we call Eternum.
It's a place of legend. It's a land of power and of treasure. It's a place where your choices matter.
You get to live a life that is full of danger and adventure on a supernatural continent that has only just been discovered.
We wanted to build this version of a haunted Eden. We wanted beautiful, picturesque landscapes with danger around every turn. There's these hints of supernatural and these things that show you're not really anywhere you've ever seen before.
Contrast is something that we really want players to feel as they move around the world. Every space they enter feels different and special from the space behind it. They feel like every hill they're going over, there's a new adventure.
Not many people know too much about Eternum yet. I think that's where you come in as a player. And there are threats, but there's also opportunity.
Rumors swirl about the power and danger of the island, but the people who go there don't really know what they're going to find. It could be Shangri-La, or it could be something out of their worst nightmares.
The thing that gives Eternum this power and makes it supernatural and special is there's this mineral that runs below the earth. It's called Azoth, and it's known to have magical properties. Azoth can amplify things.
Azoth itself is not really a good or bad necessarily, it's just this pure, raw energy.
Azoth has power to change things.
It makes things more beautiful.
And deadly.
Azoth is different for everyone who sees it or knows about it. For some, it's the Fountain of Youth. For some, it's the Philosopher's Stone. For some, it's the living embodiment of God or the devil. But one thing's for sure is it gives you, the player, a lot of really interesting powers to play with.
When players arrive in Eternum, they find evidence of other civilizations having been trapped there throughout history.
The whole world is open to you, and you're only limited by your skill and the difficulty of the enemies that you run into.
It's completely classless, so you choose how you want to play by choosing the equipment, and the weapons you choose also defines your play style. Players will have a lot of freedom to choose what they do and how they do it.
One of the fundamental tenets of New World has always been autonomy, and that manifests in every single system in the game.
The game adapts to the player and their play style. Want to become the best blacksmith or the best sword fighter? The progression system supports that. They just have to keep doing what they do best.
There's multiple settlements all over the world, and the corruption is always this invasive, aggressive force that's constantly trying to push back, trying to drive players out.
The corrupted have massive armies growing in the north, and some of their influences are beginning to trickle down to the south, where players are trying to build their homes, and they have a very particular idea of how the power of Eternum should be used.
The world is going to push back against you in a couple of interesting ways. For one thing, as you grow more powerful and you head deeper into the world, obviously there's going to be resistance to come up and meet you. But one of the most exciting things about the game is that as you and other players begin to form settlements and you begin to push back the things in the woods, they'll come for you. You're going to find some really interesting battles that have to get fought in order to keep your foothold in this world.
Wow, also bis hierhin muss ich sagen, gefällt mir die Geschichte echt gut. Das Video ist sehr gut gemacht, finde ich. Die Geschichte wirkt wirklich spannend. Die neue Welt sehr mysteriös. Auch wenn ich eine kleine Gemeinsamkeit zu WoW finde, muss ich sagen, im Großen und Ganzen freue ich mich doch darauf, in das Spiel einzutauchen. Einen Charakter, eine Rolle in diesem Spiel zu übernehmen. Naja, wir werden sehen, wie es weitergeht. Schauen wir uns den nächsten Teil an.
What awaits players when they first land on Eternum is a new discovery of a new world.
When you first arrive on Eternum, you're going to be kind of at ground zero. Your ship has crashed. There's nobody around who's on your side. Pretty soon, you're going to start to meet other players, and you're going to start to understand that life on Eternum is very much a band together or die alone situation.
When we created Eternum, we wanted to design and create a vast, explorable world. Players will quickly realize that nothing ever really dies in this island. No soul can leave the body. It is the magical resource that grants the power of immortality, and it is called Azoth.
One of the things that makes Eternum very dangerous is that there's a bunch of different factions there, and each one has their own objectives and desires, and they conflict with each other, but more importantly, they create big conflicts with the player and dangers for them.
Alongside the corrupted, there's 3 other major enemy groups that exist.
The Lost are the sort of soulless wretches of our game. They're people who have eternal life but have it without a soul, and as you learn, that is not a pleasant fate.
They're stuck in this sort of like half-death state because they've died in some horrific way, or sailors who have crash-landed on this island and sort of washed ashore here.
They're the ghouls, the undead versions in our game.
The Angry Earth is the pure, natural power of the island fighting back against the people who have come to corrupt it. It's almost like the island's defense system, and it will do whatever it can to expel these invaders.
Nature is trying to imitate the form of humans or animals they see.
And some are like more humanoid, but there's other ones that are more of like a constructed monstrosity.
They amass themselves in order to fight back from what they consider is an infection.
One of the civilizations that existed on Eternum were known as the Ancients, and they had harnessed the power of Azoth. For the Ancients, they used it to power their technologies, and you'll see tributes to their society throughout the world. Something happened to the Ancients, and no one knows quite what happened. The remains of their civilization are there, and their secrets are there for you to discover.
In Eternum, the world fights back through the corrupted. So the corrupted notice the player, they notice them getting stronger and building up their settlements, and then they fight back. They might blockade a road, have a summoning portal, which portals lots of enemies of their type into the player's area.
You can take one of the territories on Eternum. You can ultimately grow your town to the point where not only the monsters in the woods want to take it from you, but other players as well. And when we have these massive wars over these territories, it's pretty special.
So, bis hierhin finde ich das Video schon echt gut gemacht, auch wenn ich viele Gemeinsamkeiten zu WoW entdecke. Aber wir wollen nicht über WoW sprechen, wir wollen über New World sprechen, also zum Charakter. Ich finde es echt gut, dass man hier nur einen Charakter erstellen kann. Ich meine, wir kennen es alle aus WoW, dieses Twinken, dieses nervige Twinken. Auch wenn die das nur aus Langeweile tun, es ist furzlangweilig, immer wieder durch den gleichen Dungeon oder Schlachtzug zu rennen, um den Twink auszustatten. Naja, das haben wir auf jeden Fall bei New World nicht. Hier können wir mit dem einen Charakter jede Rolle spielen. Das heißt, wir können Damage dealen, wir können tanken und wir können heilen. Dieses bestimmen wir anhand der Waffe, die wir in der Hand tragen. Gut, wir müssen uns vorher erstmal entscheiden, welche Rolle wollen wir überhaupt spielen und müssen demnach die Attribute auch setzen. Aber die Attribute können wir gegen einen Obolus im Spiel ja auch wieder zurücksetzen, sodass wir andere Rollen übernehmen können. Naja, wir werden sehen, wie sich dieses im Spielverlauf entwickelt. Schauen wir uns auch einfach das nächste Video an.
New World is an MMO, but unlike MMOs, our combat system is 100% real-time action combat.
The way you move, the way you position yourself, the way you dodge and lunge, all matters. It's more like an action RPG than a traditional MMO.
It's not just gear and stats and things that are going to decide who wins a fight. Positioning and tactics and reaction times and knowing what the different moves an enemy is capable of really affect how successful you're going to be.
You have to move around in space and you have to set up your attacks, how you're dodging. It makes it very dynamic and visceral.
100% real-time combat.
Weapon Mastery has added a ton of depth and strategy to our combat system.
In New World, the Weapon Mastery system allows a player to grow more proficient in the types of gameplay that they enjoy and they do the most.
So each type of weapon has a different skill tree. As you continue to use that weapon, you'll develop more proficiency and you'll be able to unlock new abilities and bonuses on the skill tree. You can either focus on a specific type of weapon or you can spread out and try all different types.
Whatever gear you're wearing, you can have different gear that makes you play different. So if you wanted to be a frontline tank type of player, you could get heavy armor with a shield. If you wanted to be more of a backline shooter, you want something lighter that can allow you to be a little more flexible with a gun or a bow.
Like if you want to go in with rifles, a blazing, or you want a bow and arrow, or you want to just sword and board, you can actually equip those. So as you grow as a player, you can have different loadouts at the ready. So whatever the situation calls for, you have all these different types of ways that you can deal with the situation and your playstyle.
A lot of MMOs, you will choose a class, and that will determine the way that you progress. New World's doing it a little bit differently, where you pick up a weapon and start fighting with it. And as you fight with it, you begin to earn progression points for that weapon.
As players use weapons, they now gain experience with those weapons. That experience gives you points that then you can invest to specialize amongst the different trees.
So your great axe, which is a giant two-handed axe, will have a skill tree. We want these weapons to feel so different depending on the choice you make that it almost feels like a class choice.
With the hatchet, for example, you can focus on throwing or on melee damage. With the sword and shield, you can either focus on offensive damage or more defensive buffs.
With all these different combinations, there's just an enormous amount of variety that the player can achieve. So magic plays a huge role in New World, and what's special about it in New World is that anyone can do magic. How effective you are at magic will be determined by how much attribute points you spend. If you put a lot of intelligence in and focus, your magic will be much stronger than other people.
If you spend enough time with the combat system, you can eventually get good at all of the weapons in the game, and you can change your loadout on the fly based on what you want, what your party needs at the time, what the encounter calls for. Endless customization for the user. One of the most fun things to do in New World is PvP, meaning player versus player. It doesn't stop with just one-on-one, it could be groups in battle, it can be armies in battle.
There's a lot of different ways to experience PvP in New World. The two biggest are faction PvP, which after you join a faction, you can then flag. So you go to Sanctuary, you turn on your PvP flag, and then you can battle the other two factions in PvP once you're flagged. Now, you can only damage other people that are flagged, so it is an opt-in PvP system. It's a system that really rewards skill. It's a system in which a level 50 player can beat a level 60 player, and that's super cool to me.
Players can also sign up to participate in territory wars, even without being open-world PvP flagged.
So wars can be conducted between different companies when you're trying to take over a territory. And in war, it's battles of 50 on 50, and attacking side and defending side. It's really the pinnacle moment of PvP in the game.
Soweit, so gut. Zurück zu WoW. Nein, New World. Ich wollte nicht vergleichen, ich weiß. Aber hey, habt ihr die Flaggen gesehen? Rot, blau, die Ornamente und auch diese mysteriöse Substanz. Mir kommt das doch alles ziemlich bekannt vor aus dem letzten Add-on von WoW. Naja, warten wir ab. Beschränken wir uns doch aufs Thema PvP, was wir gesehen haben. Ja, mit 40, 50 Mann in eine Stadt reinrennen, den auf die Mütze zu hauen, als Dankeschön denen noch die Stadt abzunehmen, macht mit Sicherheit Spaß. Auch mal Untote verprügeln ist lustig. Aber wie lange? Ich meine, wir kennen's doch alle. 6 Klässler verhauen macht auch nur eine gewisse Zeit Spaß und wird dann schnell langweilig. Hier frage ich mich, was machen die PvE-Spieler? Bauen die in der Zeit für uns Tränke? Oder Waffen oder Rüstung oder schauen die uns einfach nur zu, wie wir denen auf die Mütze hauen? Es bleibt abzuwarten. Schauen wir uns doch den nächsten Teil des Videos an.
The tournament is divided into territories. Some of those territories can be controlled by companies of players.
When two territories clash, a war can begin. One territory can challenge another to war at their fort.
So if one company is in control of a territory, if you have enough standing, you can go with your company and try to do basically a hostile takeover.
Every company in control of a territory sets what's called a siege window.
Once that's scheduled, you have this 1 hour intense PvP battle.
This is a 50 versus 50 player battle between the two companies for control of the territory.
It's really the pinnacle moment of PvP in the game.
Once a war starts, the attacking side is set to task to use siege weapons to take down the fortress gates.
The defenders then get to be inside their fort and have access to siege defense weapons, such as the mighty horn that can buff their allies.
It becomes this big epic battle where there's 50 players charging at the gates.
So as the attacker, you win the war by first taking down all the gates so that you can get inside of their base. And once you're inside, you siege the flag. And if you can stay near that flag for a set amount of time, you take the fort.
The war's timed, so you'll have about an hour to get in there, take over that flag in the middle.
And ultimately, one winner is going to be declared when the battle is over.
It's a new level of social dynamism that no other game has.
In addition to player versus player wars, territory owners will also have to worry about invasions. This is where waves of enemies from all across the tournament come to lay siege to your fortress.
As the corrupted breaches sort of escalate intensity, over time those eventually lead to a large-scale invasion.
The corrupted, with their armies ever eager to take over the whole island, come marching up to forts and challenge the players.
Invasions are different from war. Invasions are large-scale PvE events where hundreds of corrupted try to ruin all of your progress in up-leveling your territory.
All the enemies that really scare you out in the world, you now see in an invasion. And they come after you, they come after the gates, and eventually they come for the flag.
There's great loot to be had, there's money to be made, there's reputation that you'll gain.
They happen pretty frequently. You'll need to prepare, and it's just waves and waves of corrupted that you'll need to battle back.
It's when the game really sings.
Ja, also was haben wir gerade gesehen? wir haben super geile PvP-Schlachten gesehen, die, hey, sind wir ehrlich, jedem Spaß machen. Ich meine, wir hauen uns allen gerne gegenseitig auf die Mütze, aber wiederum haben wir nichts für PvE-Spieler gesehen, was ich doch recht schade finde. Ich meine, im Großen und Ganzen, auch wenn sie es ankündigen, haben sie hier das Rad nicht neu erfunden. Nein, wir kennen die Sachen aus anderen Spielen und auch aus WoW natürlich. Und nein, das Rad wurde nicht neu erfunden. Es ist ein bisschen umgestellt, ein bisschen runder gemacht vielleicht. Wir werden sehen, wie es sich im Spiel entwickelt. So, liebe Leute, genug dazu. Mein Resümee aus der ganzen Geschichte, auch wenn ich viel Quatsch gemacht habe oder verglichen habe mit WoW, nein, persönlich vergleiche ich die Sache nicht mit WoW. Natürlich gibt es hier sehr viele Ähnlichkeiten, aber ich werde New World definitiv spielen und ich werde New World auch streamen. Nicht etwa, damit ich euch gefalle, nein, weil es mich echt interessiert, privat auch mal New World zu spielen. Ich bin wirklich gespannt auf die Geschichte. Ich bin auch wirklich gespannt, wie sich die ganze Sache spielen lässt. So, liebe Leute, wenn euch dieses Video gefallen hat, ihr mehr von dem Quatsch sehen wollt, den ich zu New World gemacht habe, oder ich noch mehr davon machen soll, lasst mir doch einfach einen Kommentar da, einen Daumen nach oben oder vielleicht sogar ein Abo. Wenn ihr New World sehen wollt, wie ich New World spiele im Livestream auf Twitch, dann kommt einfach mal auf Twitch vorbei. Hinterlasst mir da auch ein Abo, dann verpasst ihr natürlich auch keinen Stream von New World. Und ich würde mich freuen, mit euch zusammen dieses Spiel zu spielen und dieses Spiel zu entdecken. Bis dahin, liebe Leute, habt noch einen schönen Tag. Bleibt mir gewogen, euer Dexter.